Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Game Over Ottawa. And all I can say right now to start things off is thank God that game is over.
Yeah, I hated that the last 5 minutes were actually 30 minutes. I just want to be put out of my misery and never watch the Sens ever again after witnessing that. So
That was quite the game. I'm here with my buddy Jordan from my other podcast, Extra Attackers. So we will say that if you enjoy us on this show here tonight, we also have some more content that you can check out. We're going to have another episode going up tomorrow, just kind of talking about various topics around the NHL. But right now we're here for the Sens, and that was almost a catastrophe. They kind of saved it at the end, but I feel like I'm still angry about it.
I'm still angry about it, and I'm about to go off. To be real,
Yeah.
that game was one of the worst games I've ever seen the Sens play. And it was super reminiscent of the 5-0 loss to Chicago. The only reason it literally wasn't that game is because they made it close at the end. And it is indicative of the problem that the Sens have had for the past 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
They cannot defend. They have made strides to outshoot their opponent. They have made strides to be more productive in their own zone. DJ Smith cannot coach defense. He does not know how. How can these problems keep happening? It's mind-boggling.
It's mind-blowing to me because a couple games ago, I saw a stat, and I think I mentioned this on the last show, that the Sens are doing really good with shot suppression compared to last year. And this game and the Detroit game were two more games where we allowed less than 25 shots, or 25, less than 30, somewhere around that, right?
Yeah.
And we give up 10 goals, and then an empty net, so 11 goals in those two games. So it's even though DJ has got the team playing a style where they're limiting the number of shots, they are not limiting the high danger chances.
No, and I feel like it's super disingenuous to say that either game is either Korpisalo or Forsberg's fault. Sure, maybe you want each goalie to have one or two of those goals back, but even still, that's 3 or 4 goals each game that are entirely on the defensive structure, entirely on the defenders that are playing, entirely on DJ. Let's be real. I know it's only 6 games into the regular season. It's super easy to overreact. But these are the exact same problems we've been seeing. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's we were used to just giving up 40 shots a game, and now we've got that down, but it seems like the in-zone defense, when we get going on the cycle, it's just trash. I feel like we've been pretty good at limiting the rush chances, but once the other team gets set up in our zone, we're just running around, floating around like chickens with their heads cut off, and losing coverage constantly.
Exactly. The only defenseman that succeeds in the defensive zone is Sanderson, and that's because he's probably the smartest defenseman I've ever seen. That's the only reason he succeeds in the system. No other defenseman can overcome the deficiencies in the system. They run around like chickens with their heads cut off. They don't actually mark anyone. It's insane. And
Basically the exact same thing of a guy in the high slot. Here, hold on. We have OBS disconnected, so I'm just... I think we're back now. OBS disconnected briefly, but I think the stream is back now.
Okay, cool.
What I was saying was 3 goals tonight of a tip-in with just the Sabres forward completely unmarked in the high slot. 3 times that got past. I don't blame a goalie whatsoever for those tip-ins, right?
Yeah.
Just absolutely horrendous defending where the stats look ugly for Forsberg, but not his fault.
No, not entirely his fault. And even if you want to take away 1 or 2 of the goals and say, yeah, Forsberg should have had that, that's still a 3-1 game, a 3-2 game. You have no excuse for not being ahead after how well you played at the start of the first period. It's the exact same thing against Detroit.
Very similar.
For how well you played to start the game, you have no excuse not to be leading. Both ends of the ice aren't working. The first line isn't working on 5.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But the defensive coverage, man, it's brutal.
And I think we might as well just get into the top line, because I think that's been also one of my biggest disappointments in the first 6 games so far, is that they were absolutely carrying our team. And, in the first 3 games this season, I was contextualizing it as, oh, they're kind of off, but all the depth is good, right?
Right.
But now the depth scoring slowing down a little bit in the last 2 games, other than the last 5 minutes of this game, and then the top line is just not carrying the slack at all. Throughout this game, it felt like until the 3rd period, they weren't really developing anything or generating anything.
Yeah, they're non-existent. It's crazy. I thought Stützle was better in this game than he has been the last couple of games. He had the puck on his stick a lot more. He was carrying it. But like I barely noticed Tkachuk or Giroux out there. Like honestly, Giroux has been invisible.
The
Like,
last two games for Giroux have been brutal.
they've been brutal, and like I'm concerned. Like is this age starting to catch up with him?
I sure hope not, because we don't really have anyone else coming up on right wing.
That's true. Like you have to pray to God that something else works out somewhere else on the team if you're gonna replace that, and that's like a Hail Mary.
Yeah, and like I guess talking about right wings as well, I haven't been impressed with Batherson at all either.
No, he gets an assist tonight, but like at the same time, he's had so many chances in every single game. In these first, I think it's 6 games now. These first 6 games, he's had at least 5 to 6, like 10 bell chances that he should bury first time, and he hasn't scored. Like he has to convert on those.
Yeah, this was one of those games where I started off taking notes and then eventually just got so angry when it was like 4-1, 5-1 and stopped taking notes. And then there was so much crap in the third period that it's like, how do you even make notes at that point?
Yeah.
But when I was making notes in the first period, I had 3 chances noticed that Batherson should have converted on, or at least there was twice it was the power play at the end of the first period. He got a chance to shoot in the high slot, doesn't pull the trigger at all, and then he got that chance going to the backhand, right? Didn't even get a shot on net again. It's like, we need more from this guy. And he had a wide open net miss earlier in the period too.
That's true. Yeah, no, exactly. It's just not enough from what should be our most potent offensive players. And like Norris has come in, scored 3 goals in his first 3 games.
Yeah, thank God for that.
Thank God. And he's been off a year.
Yeah.
Like, and how is he one of our most productive forwards to start the season after all that? Like, it's all...
Yeah, like, you can say, like, at least a little bit of credit to Batherson because he did set up Norris for the goal tonight. But
Yeah.
but overall, throughout the whole 60 minutes, I think Norris had a much better game than Batherson did.
I think so, too. This is mostly a joke, but it's almost like Norris spent enough time out of DJ system to actually remember how to play offensive hockey.
Oh my God, yeah.
And like I am usually not a DJ hater. Like I was super ready to be like, yeah, he has no offensive weapons. His defense core has never been like quality. He finally has that, and it's the same problems again and again. Like my God, like fix it. Legitimate. Like he talked so much in the offseason about how he's gonna ask Sean Tierney, like, tell me what I'm bad at.
Oh yeah,
you're bad at the defensive zone. Okay, you can't coach it.
Sean Tierney should have a lot of things that he can let DJ know about.
Right.
After how the last 2 games have went specifically, like, holy crap. I see Charlie chiming in the chat as well. I feel very bad for you, Charlie, that you had to witness that game in person.
I'm so sorry,
I
Charlie.
hope at least that you stayed until the end, because it seems like not a lot of people did. So at least there was that tiny bit of excitement where, like, I was almost getting my hopes up, but at the same time, I kind of didn't... I'm not cheering against my team, but if we did tie it, I would have just been like, oh, they don't deserve this after playing like crap for 55 minutes.
Agreed. I feel like it'd been really awkward to come on here and just be like, especially if they went into overtime and won the game. Like, of course, it'd be good vibes from a great comeback, but it'd be like, how did they get here?
We would just be losing our minds, like, laughing if they actually tied that game, because it would have been completely hilarious, but it would have been really hard to analyze.
Exactly.
And even then with the failed comeback, we just have to, like, bring it back to the issues that plagued the team throughout the whole game. Like, even though they made it close, it was a valiant effort, especially with after Tarasenko got sent off, they didn't have Brady or Tarasenko, and they still got 2 more goals, which is pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, I think it's super impressive, but why was the pressure turned up then? Why is that when you start
It shouldn't have come to that, is the thing.
Exactly. And I think it's super telling that you have a bunch of chances, high danger chances from the Sens that don't convert, and a bunch of Buffalo Sabres chances. Every single one of them converted.
Yeah.
Every single chance Buffalo got, they converted. And I think that's super telling of the lack of defensive structure, the lack of finishing ability in the offensive zone.
Yeah.
Like, it was just so frustrating to watch.
Speaking of the Sabres converting their chances, while you were saying that, I had to check the high danger stats. And after the second period, the Sabres had 6 high danger chances, and they had 5 goals.
Didn't even know that.
So, like,
God.
and even for the Sens too, like, they were leading on the shot clock for most of this game, and even then they had 6 high danger chances after the second period. They doubled it in the third. They got 7, obviously with the frenzy comeback attempt, but it just wasn't enough in the first 2 periods.
No.
Just ugly hockey.
Again, you score any of those high danger chances in the first period, game changed. Game goes a completely different way. That's how important it is to start off good. Don't play from behind.
Yeah.
And yet they do that again.
Just this team seems unable to capture momentum and keep momentum too. Like we saw in the Detroit game, the momentum completely dissipate once really Greg got that penalty and the Red Wings scored immediately on the power play.
Yeah.
It was very similar in the second period of this game where we're down 3-0 and Chychrun gets the goal to finally get us on the board. But then I'm trying to remember which penalty it was here. Was it, this Hamonic one holding against Skinner, which was kind of a soft call.
I thought it was because I thought Skinner had Hamonic in a headlock, so I don't know what he's supposed to do to release the hold.
Yeah, direct repeat of the scenario last game where you know that the refs are looking to call one because we have the momentum and we also had the last few power plays which we squandered. So you know that the next call is going to be against us. And then it was like 10 seconds into the power play. Like, yeah, the penalty time was 16:50 and this goal was 17:08. So 18 seconds is all it took them. Like, we already spent the entire last show against Detroit roasting the penalty kill. And then here we are again. It was just the one power play goal tonight, but 1 out of 2, 50% for the Sabres.
Yeah, that's not good enough. Not good enough. And like 5 power plays, 1 goal. With the offensive weapons on this team, with what we consider to be 2 first units.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think they're almost interchangeable for the talent. Obviously, like Stützle, Tkachuk, all that, they're going to be the first unit, but they're easy to switch. And 1 for 5, it's been so bad. You lose the special teams battle to Detroit. This one wasn't even a special teams battle, but you had 5 power plays.
It wasn't even a special teams battle. It was just the Sens got to play special teams. They got all the power play opportunities, and they squandered it themselves. It wasn't even a battle.
Exactly. Especially the 5-on-3. You had to score.
The best chance on the 5-on-3 was Brady trying to chip the puck in from behind the net. That was the best chance.
The best chance.
That's horrendous on a 5-on-3.
I know.
Like, it's just remarkable. I was laughing while you were talking there because I didn't notice that Norris was -5 tonight. I'd rather say it was -4.
God.
So
really?
I said that I thought Norris was decent, like other than the goal, but even that's with him being a -5. So that shows you how low the bar was tonight.
It was low. And what did Charlie say?
Horrendous stuff. Charlie saying back-to-back games with 35+ shots, and not once did I have faith in the offense. Yeah,
that's a great point. Honestly, like they have switched, admittedly, them just tanking shots, them getting 20 and hoping to God they win. But it hasn't resulted in more offense because they can't convert those high danger chances. Like, I think some of it is the fact that the players aren't stepping up to actually finish them, but a lot of it too, I think, is they don't have the systems to actually achieve those chances in a super dangerous way that almost guarantee a goal. I know this is like super reactionary. We are 3-3. We're at 500 in 6 games. The talent that we've had to play on opposing teams does not warrant this record.
That's the thing.
You need to take out at least one of Detroit or Buffalo. You were directly competing with them. Instead of taking any points, you gave 4 to your division rivals.
That's what I wanted to bring up, was these were kind of 2 big tests, really, against the teams that we were all as a fan base claiming that, oh, we're better than them. We're better than Detroit. We're better than Buffalo. We're going to finish ahead of them. Doesn't look like it right now. Obviously, Buffalo's record is not great. I think they're 3-4 now, but they could easily pass us. If we don't turn this shit around, we're going to lose the next 3 as well. Like,
no, exactly. And like, I legitimately think our roster on paper is arguably better than Buffalo, arguably better than Detroit. No excuse to be playing like this. No excuse to be falling into old habits like this.
Yeah. And newbie in the chat saying it's hard to be excited to watch this team after laying such massive eggs into pivotal early year games against divisional rivals. That's exactly it.
Great point. Yeah.
We got exactly 1 week as Sens fans to be happy, from puck drop of the home opener Saturday into the next Saturday game against Detroit. Exactly 1 week of being happy, and then we're just back to shit. Back to being horrified that this is going to be another year of just floating under 500 in the first 2 months.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, Shirley. November did come early this year.
Yeah, exactly. It came a week early.
I mean, I feel like the main line that everyone brings up is the Sweden trip. What the record is at the Sweden trip, that should dictate
the
what
line
they do
has
next.
been moved up now.
It has.
Yeah.
It has. Honestly, I have barely any faith in DJ Smith to rectify this. And I agree with what David W was saying in chat, where DJ doesn't have enough of a Rick Tocchet in him. He's not going to get mad at anyone.
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen DJ bench a player. he like during
It's rare.
It's
definitely rare.
And like I understand like during the rebuild, you don't want to do that necessarily because you have a bunch of kids learning. You want to give them more ice time. If you make a mistake, get back out there, fix it, make it better. But your team is supposed to be good. Send a message if someone isn't playing well. Stop being everyone's friend, right? And like we haven't seen that. Maybe that comes later in the season. I don't know, but I just like it just feels like he's not handling this at all, right? Like nothing is being done about this. It's just like, okay, we try again next time instead of learning the lessons from the game, right?
For sure. I think the closest thing we saw to a benching tonight was Kubalik got moved down to the fourth line, which is a whole nother deal of we want to trade this guy to make room for Pinto, and then he's getting chucked to the fourth line. So does it really look like he has much trade value right now? So I didn't love to see that either, even though Kubalik is kind of sucking ass.
Yeah. Honestly, like at this point, if they waived him, I'd be like,
yeah, I'd be like, fine.
Yeah, whatever. Like,
and I don't even know if he would get claimed, to be honest.
I don't know. I don't know either. Like, he is the main person to trade right now if you want to get Pinto in. Honestly, like after watching these two games, get Pinto in. Like, yeah, that can't hurt you.
Pinto's leverage, it must be going up after the last two games for sure.
At the first couple of games, it was definitely down because really Greg was kind of showing that he could fill that role. And that line, arguably still the best line. They contributed the most in this game on the score sheet. But the entire team as a whole, not working right now. You need to switch something. Even the top line, you need to switch. And I agree, that's like what Charlie is saying. It might be reactionary to say, hey, fire DJ right now. But this is the exact same thing.
It's what we've seen before. Exactly.
Stop it. Like, stop the bleeding.
Exactly.
Right? Like, honestly, if you play and lose the next two games, he has to be fired. There's no excuse.
Dude, 3 and 5, he's out. It'd have to be at that
exactly.
point.
And I understand. Chabot has had his troubles so far. But Sanderson has looked fantastic. Chychrun, he's about point per game right now.
Yeah, he's putting up points.
He's putting up points.
Teach him how to play defense.
Exactly.
Get the defense proper. Like, holy crap. Oh, it's so rough. Like, as we were saying, this is what we've been seeing with DJ Smith. And the thing is, when a coach's system is failing like this, they never change their system entirely. And it's like, okay, scratch that. We're going to do this instead. Coaches always double down on their system, right? And everyone who's watching this crap can see that these guys don't know what they're doing in the defensive zone. And even on offense, a lot of dump and chase tonight that was just turning the puck over constantly. There was, I think on one of the power plays in the second period, there's about like 30 seconds left on it. We dumped it in, we got it behind the net, passed it back to the point, and then Chabot dumped it back behind the net, and then we lost it. Why are you dumping and chasing when you already have possession in the offensive zone on the power play?
Exactly.
What kind of a set play is that on offense? That's on the power play? Like that, I don't think Chabot would just do that. That's got to be like some sort of strategy, like, oh, we're gonna run it behind the net, but they just throw the puck away.
Yeah, no, exactly. And like, I understand if you're a rebuilding team, you don't have as much skill. You play a dump and chase type of hockey so that you can forecheck hard. Like you try to tire out the opposition that way. This is a good team. This roster on paper is good. Play possession hockey.
Exactly.
Why hasn't DJ changed that? He should. And honestly, it's so embarrassing to think about the fact that Andlauer was there watching it. Like, seeing that, like, and just Dorian sitting there uncomfortably. Like, honestly, like, Dorian might just need to fire DJ to save his job, right? Like, that's the last resort. I feel like it's coming up if they keep playing like this.
It was a very ominous shot of Andlauer just kind of hovering over Pierre Dorian's shoulders in the box up there before the comeback started. I think it was still 5-1 or 5-2 at that point. We were all cringing, and then we just see that they can't be happy right now. They got to be asking Pierre, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, no, exactly. And Newbie Sports, you're a beauty. I completely forgot about that.
What the
hell did they do to Forsberg?
I was waiting to get to it. There's so much that we haven't even gotten to.
I know.
That craziness.
I know. How did they not tell him? Like, I heard, like, was it Lidleam's Martian or someone tweeted out that DJ talked to Corpusalo at the end of the second?
Sens prospect.
Sens prospect. How did that not get relayed?
Yeah.
To Forsberg before the start of the... Why did Hamonic have to go out and tell him?
That's embarrassing for the fans. Embarrassing. The coaches should be embarrassed. It is embarrassing to the players that Forsberg had to go out there and come back in.
Exactly.
That you don't even tell him? Did they just not speak to Forsberg at all in the intermission? Like,
I
what
guess
kind of coaching
not.
is that? What is that?
It's like they didn't want to deal with it. They're like, oh, we don't want to like rain on Forzy's parade. Like, he's having a tough night. Let's get Hamonic. You're a coach. Suck it up.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to be mean to your players sometime. And honestly, this isn't even.
Dude, they could have even been nice to him because it
Right,
wasn't even really
right.
his fault. But
It wasn't.
talk to him, right?
Like, go up to him and be like, Forzy, we know this isn't like entirely your fault, but we need to switch it up. We need to do something to spark the team, right? Like, I'm sure he would totally understand.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'd want one or two of those goals back. But the fact that they handled it like that, like,
horrendous.
That's fireable by itself.
Yeah,
Like,
as soon as we went into the start of the third period, Jordan was looking on his phone and seeing the clip of Forsberg having to leave. He told me, and I was like, fire him, fire the coach.
yeah,
Right there.
yeah, that's
Fuck
how I
off.
reacted.
Get him
That's
out of
how I
here.
reacted.
Horrible. And I guess the other major thing I want to bring up still is we haven't even gotten to the whole Tkachuk injury scare.
Oh yeah, well that
happened.
something.
That was bizarre because it looked to me like his season was about to be done right there. Just do you remember when Norris injured his shoulder? I think the second time on the faceoff, or maybe it was the first time on the faceoff.
I think it was the first.
But you remember how he reacted, right?
It was the exact same.
Eerily
Exact same.
similar. Yeah. So the fact that Tkachuk came back in this game is crazy. And I mean, he looked fine, and he thought he kicked Tuck's ass somehow. Like, somehow just laid an absolute beat down despite having an injured shoulder. I think I made a joke when it was the intermission. I was like, oh, I guess Brady just hit his funny bone. And it was like, maybe he'll be back. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know.
Maybe. Like, honestly, he was taking checks. He was giving checks. He got on the fight, like you said. Like, he looked fine. Like, honestly, getting out of that game without a major Tkachuk injury, the best possible thing.
That's
honestly.
the positive for tonight.
Yeah,
pretty much.
That's what I'm taking from it. And I feel bad. Honestly, I feel bad for Tkachuk. And he puts his heart out there every game.
Yeah.
And a lot of the players, they're trying. It just doesn't seem like they're put in the best position to succeed by their coaches. And
I think so.
yeah, I mean, I don't expect DJ to get fired right now. I think it has to get worse. But I mean,
we're like, the fact that we're already talking about it is the problem.
it is the problem.
It shouldn't have happened this quick.
Like Charlie said, it's not even November. Like
Exactly.
we should be expecting this in November. And if this happened in November, can him. He's gone. You can't have this again.
I wanted to bring up these stats. I had a tweet bookmarked from Pesky Sickos on Twitter that in terms of team stats, this is eerily similar to last season through 5 games played. It was 6 points in the standings. It was 21 goals for as a team. It was 16 goals against last season and 1 less this season. Power play very close. Penalty kill very close, as in it was bad both times. Shots very close. The only thing that was like noticeably different was the shots allowed is way better. And I just think it's really funny that we're just having Groundhog Day and our stats through the first 5 games were eerily similar, and then this is the point where it falls off apparently.
And like, I understand that usually our team does better later in the season. That seems to be the trademark from DJ Smith. But guess what? Most teams by American Thanksgiving, you know if you're in the playoffs or not. There's like 2 or 3 spots on the wild card that switch at American Thanksgiving. After that, it's super projectable. You can't keep having bad starts. You can't keep making up the games later. Start off well, and if you fall, if you do poorly later in the season, at least you have that backup.
Exactly.
You could say, hey, we started the beginning of the season, we went 10-5 or something like that. We can lose 1 or 2. It's not going to matter as much. Instead of us having nail biters in the last like 3 games of the season, right? Like it's crazy.
Exactly. Like we expected this team to be kind of almost in the playoffs or almost out, but at this point in the season to already feel like we need to be scoreboard watching and not have any sort of cushion in the standings is just sad. Like we talked a little bit about this on our podcast that we recorded earlier today, but the Bruins with their easy ass schedule have a 5-0 start, easy cushion for the rest of the season already, and they're playing right now against Chicago, so that's probably another win. And then Detroit has basically taken our spot with a 5-1 start. They're playing again tonight. Everyone's playing, so more time for the Atlantic Division teams to just pull ahead of us. Toronto won as well. Montreal beat Buffalo last night. That's we haven't even mentioned that Buffalo was on the second half of a back-to-back and only scored 1 goal against the Habs last night.
And you said, and it was a perfect point. The Sens look like they're the team on the back-to-back.
Exactly.
That's what they look like. It's crazy. You need to take advantage of that.
How does that happen? And against a team like maybe as well, we had the rush of goals in the last 5 minutes. Maybe the only reason we got that is because Buffalo was on their back-to-back and they're at the end of the second game, so now they're tired.
Right.
But throughout the whole rest of the game, apparently we didn't have enough energy to be better than them.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable that
Absolutely
you couldn't do
shocking. Yeah.
On home ice
On home
as
ice too.
well.
I feel so bad for the fans. At least for anyone who didn't leave early, they got to see a few goals.
Yeah.
But other than that, like probably 80% of people probably did leave early.
I wouldn't blame them. Like you honestly, like it looks better on the score sheet that made it close. Like I was like of the mindset, if they tie this and win, like still I'm gonna yell at this team.
Exactly.
Like they didn't deserve that.
It would be a little bit more manic yelling in the sense of like, we're happy because we won, but also what the hell did we just watch?
Right.
Like, but of course we didn't even get to complete the comeback, so we don't even have that.
Nope. And when you think about it, like what teams did we beat? We beat Florida to start this season.
Philly.
Sorry, Philly to start this season. And then the next game after that, I'm just trying to remember.
So Philly and then Tampa with no Vasilevsky and no Stamkos.
Right.
And then Washington. And Washington just sucks ass.
Washington's cooked.
Yeah.
Tampa is cooked. Philly's supposed to be bad. They're rebuilding. We've only lost games against teams that are on our level, and that can't happen.
That's the problem as well. And then the next two games are the Islanders and Pittsburgh, which are two more teams. It's not as bad because they're not in your division, but two more teams that should be right there with you in the wild card race. And I'm very scared that we're just gonna fall behind.
Yeah, like you have to win both of those games now. You have to. And like I don't expect that. Like watching how they're playing, especially away where they're traditionally worse.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to expect them to do much better.
I'm gonna quickly search up Tkachuk on Twitter because I want to know if he spoke on his injury yet.
That's a good question.
We're getting the highlights of the fight, of course. And then people bantering. I guess doesn't seem like there's an update yet. I'm really curious usually I don't listen to interviews after games, but tonight might be some interesting ones.
Yeah, I think I might clue into them after, and like I mean a good point is again by Newbie. Like this window has a timeline.
Yeah.
Giroux is older. Once he starts to slow down, you have to replace him. And he was a point per game player last year.
Yep.
Basically, that's going to be hard to replace.
That's the thing. We need that from him again this year, but you shouldn't have to rely that much on your oldest player.
Exactly. And like, there's great young players on this team. Ridley Gregg has done pretty, like, honestly, really good.
Better than I thought he would so far.
I agree. I thought he's been better than that. He has a good point scoring record so far this season. Joseph has come out of nowhere and become a productive player. Tarasenko, that entire line has been great so far. That's been the one bright spot. But you can't keep trying with this formula that's not working and just hoping that like, okay, one day it'll click. Maybe there won't be enough players to help when that clicks.
Exactly, because
like,
our prospect pool is thin. So hopefully we don't have to move one of those first round picks to clear cap space. But yeah, Pierre got to hurry up and get Pinto in here so that there's no more excuses in terms of the roster too. Like that's the tough part as well, is like you can point to that as an excuse, but like you just said, Ridley Gregg has been a great fill-in. And we've had Rourke Chartier on the roster even after Norris coming back. Chartier has stayed in, and I think he's been better than Kastelik, but he was better than McEwen. McEwen got sent down, so there's not that many excuses left, just down to execution and performance and coaching at this point.
Yeah, those are the things. And like I don't care if later in the season we go up and start playing well and start adhering to our system. Every single DJ system, bad start. Every time. You can't keep having that. It shows a lack of adaptation to what other teams are doing coaching wise, to what his team is doing coaching wise, and just like general problem solving. Like, how, when you've had this many chances, haven't you engineered one good start?
Exactly. Like, even when the team was bad, how did we not at least have 2 or 3 weeks where we were like 500 at first, like when we were bad? Obviously last year we were at least 4-2 before it went off the rails. This year only 3-2 before it went off the rails, because I have a feeling that the road games aren't going to go much better.
No, and like I said before, if you lose both of them, you have to fire DJ. But you can't. Those are both games with conference opponents.
Exactly.
And you're fighting with wild card with them. You can't give up those points. You've already given up 4 to divisional rivals. You can't give up those other 4 points.
That's the thing about this schedule to start the season is other than the semi-easy teams that we beat already, we're playing a lot of teams that we should be pretty even with. And the first 2 tests in that, in Detroit and Buffalo, we got totally smoked. So it seems that we're not even with them in terms of like a strategies perspective from the coaching. Those teams, Detroit and Buffalo, seem to both play better hockey than we can, apparently.
Yeah.
Despite our talent.
And I stand firm. I think on paper we have better talent than both of those teams overall. Like Buffalo still has the goaltending questions. Detroit does not have a great defensive core. Expose that. Use that to your advantage, and we haven't been able to do that. We've been wiped off the face of the planet in both of these games.
Exactly.
Like they made it close at the end of this. They didn't deserve it. They didn't
Not
deserve
at all.
it. If they had come back and win it, they wouldn't have deserved it.
Exactly.
And it's crazy that I'm talking about this like again, like after this happened last year, the season before, like tired of it, right?
Yeah. If we had tied it, there was a game last year that I did against Calgary where we were down 3-1 into the last 2 minutes and we tied it and ended up winning in overtime off a Stützle goal.
Right.
If you remember that.
I do.
That was one where I just kind of came on here laughing and I was like, what the hell just happened? Because I was ready to roast the team, right? For how they had performed for 58 minutes of that game. And then this was eerily similar where we just didn't tie it this time.
Yeah.
Where most of the game was just utter dog crap and then a little bit of excitement at the end, but they didn't pull through.
Exactly. And yeah.
So we've seen this script before,
We've
basically.
seen it before. They just in the early season, for whatever reason, they get outcoached and DJ has not been able to fix it. Because of being out, like due to the fact that DJ has been outcoached routinely in the start of the season. The defensive system structure not there. Offensive structure they can't finish.
Yeah.
At this point, I refuse to believe it's just the players when it's 2 seasons in a row. It's got to be something to do with the system as well. And what the hell did you do to Forsberg as well at this?
Horrible player management.
I like Dorian must be fuming. Like
Yeah.
you like if I was him, I'd call DJ up right now and be like, "What the hell was that?" Especially with Anlauer there, like we talked about before.
Yeah.
Like.
And on a night where we're honoring the greatest goalie in franchise history, you disrespect the current goalie like that?
Right?
Disgusting.
Like,
I'm sure Craig Anderson saw that and was like, what the fuck is that?
Right? In a different time, that's Patrick Roy's trigger. You
Yeah,
know? Like,
yeah.
That's the ask for trade moment, right?
Yeah,
Like,
there's a different timeline where that happens to Patrick Roy, and that's the moment that he leaves the Canadiens.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, God, man. Like, how do you forget that? How do you not adapt to any of this?
Inexcusable. Like, it's a small thing, but it's something outside of the coaching like strategies and systems where it's just on a personal level, on a human level to mistreat a guy like that, even if it's just an accident.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I'm interested to see DJ's presser. I really hope someone asks him about it. Like, what the hell happened?
Yeah, we're gonna need to see his answer to that for sure. And yeah, poor Forsberg tonight. I definitely jinxed him by picking him up in fantasy.
Yes. Guys, remember this was all Maude's fault.
Yeah. Forsberg had his first 2 games were great, and he was sitting in the free agent pool in our league. So I'm like, you know what? I have Stuart Skinner. That was a horrible idea already. So let's get Forsberg in there. Nope, that was an even worse idea apparently.
Yeah, I mean, at least we padded Korpisalo's stats.
Yeah, he got to raise his save percentage a little bit tonight.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know Charlie will be hurting too because in our other league he had Forsberg.
Oh,
So
no.
he had him in tonight as well, I think. So rough stuff. The Sens have not been great for fantasy hockey players so far, or in real life either.
In real life,
just
no.
not good for not having fun. We are not. It's fun doing this show and getting to talk about the Sens, but it is not fun having to rant, being forced to just only be like angry on here.
Yeah, and I admit, like, this is like sort of self-indulgent in the way that it's nice to actually blow off steam in through this medium, but I'm tired of doing it.
Yeah.
you know? and like I think like one thing that's important to remember is that really great coaches around the NHL, they get the best out of their worst players. They get the absolute best play out of those players. If DJ Smith was someone who I believed was a good coach, I think the first line would be doing better. I think when you called up players like JBD, or when you moved Hamonic up into the top 4. You would adjust your systems. You would account for that, and the player wouldn't look as bad as they do.
Yeah.
I think he routinely gets exposed whenever he has injuries and doesn't have the perfect lineup. And a good coach can overcome that. A good coach can work around that.
That is why we were all horrified about the potential Tkachuk injury, is not just because he's our best player, but because this team folds as soon as they get any major players injured. So
Yeah.
I can't imagine this team without Tkachuk. Like, he hasn't had any more than just mild injuries in the last 5 years, pretty much, or like pretty much his whole career. He's pretty consistent of playing most of the games. So if we had to watch the current iteration of this team with how things are going so far without Brady Tkachuk, not only on the ice but with his leadership, holy crap, that would have been bad. So I hope that he didn't re-aggravate anything in the third period at all.
I hope not. I mean, he played the entire thing and had the fight, and that's when he left. So that's a positive sign. But you're right. Like, he usually doesn't get injured that much, and if he actually did, can you imagine trying to replace him?
Yeah,
it's impossible. And I mean, like, I'm thinking even back to preseason, there's so many whack-ass decisions that DJ makes. Like, why did he try Tarasenko on the left wing for so long and then realize it just wasn't going to work?
And then Tarasenko goes back to the right wing and is very good right away.
Very good. Also, why did you start the season with Chabot on the right side? Like, he was one of the only defensemen that hadn't actually tried it. At least Chychrun had played the right side before.
And now we're flip-flopping betwing them. Chychrun played some games on the right side, and now it was Chabot tonight.
Exactly. And I mean, I think the idea of having a Chabot-Sanderson pairing is interesting. But, like, how do you not get these decisions right the first time when they are so obvious? Like, the amount of fans that call out DJ's bad decisions before they actually happen and before they're proven to be bad.
And then we see how it plays out, and we're all proven right, usually.
Exactly. It happens all the time.
Yeah. Do you think you would keep the Chabot and Sanderson pairing together for one more game?
I think I would try it.
Yeah.
I think
I feel like it had good moments, and it wasn't the worst pairing. Like, I was trying to look at the plus minus just to remind me of who was on for the most goals against, but I think it's a little bit skewed from the late goals in the game.
Right.
I would have liked to. I should have checked what the plus minus was when the score was still 5-1, because I feel like every pairing got scored on, but I felt like, other than Chabot not tying up, I think it was Tage Thompson on the deflection, or maybe it was the tuck one. Like I said earlier, there was 3 deflection goals where the guy was wide open to tip it in the high slot. Other than Chabot not tying up his guy on one of those goals, like, I thought Chabot and Sanderson were pretty good, and then it was mostly the other pairings that were worse. So I feel like they should give it another try, but I don't have any confidence at this point. So
yeah, I don't have much confidence either, but I agree with you. I think they should give it another chance. I think they complement each other well. I think Sanderson is the perfect player to try to help out Chabot since he has a lot of defensive gaps.
Yeah,
I feel like when he has that sort of brain part, Sanderson is the player that you want right there. I will say though, Chychrun is definitely more offensively minded defenseman, and he can still defend. I like his gap control. I like his stick work. Travis Hamonic, he can't do it. He can't be the defensive pivot on that pairing.
No.
Like, it just doesn't work. And, like, when Zub comes back, and then hopefully you can throw out Zub and Sanderson against, like, the top pairings again, like, that'll stifle some offense. But still, like, you lose one player, one top 4 defenseman, and it all goes to crap.
That's what I was going to say, is Zub gets injured, and then we allow 11 goals in 2 games. It shouldn't be all up to Zub to keep the defensive play actually together, you know?
I agree. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. It's not just on one player, it's a whole systems issue. And, like, I understand, again, it's super reactionary. The Sens could win their next 4 games, and I'm singing a completely different tune, but you have to call out these issues when you see them.
Exactly. These are the things that we need to see improve if the Sens are going to actually manage to turn it around here.
Yeah, and, like, if this was the first time we'd seen these issues, it'd be completely different, but it's not. So
exactly. Yeah. I think that's probably where we'll leave it. I feel like I have used up all of my ranting energy at this point.
Honestly, I feel kind of tired.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
Like, just like endless expelling of emotion, just because that was, God, it's so awful.
Yeah, on one hand, like, at least it wasn't like a 1-0 loss with nothing to talk about. But also I had at least a couple things in mind of, like, oh, if it's a boring game, we can talk about these things instead. And then the game was horrible and then popped off at the end. So lots to talk about. That was a crazy episode.
Yeah. I hope that's the craziest episode we ever do together.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
We were debating when it was 5-1, I asked Jordan, what's worse, this game or the 5-0 loss to Chicago that we covered last season? And I guess the comeback attempt at least made it so that this one was better, I guess. Like, it was still just as painful of a game to sit through, but at least we scored when it was 5-1, you know, instead of 5-0 in the other game. And then we got a few goals at the end of the game, but that was still pretty trash.
It was. It's weird. It's weird because I agree with you, but I feel more angry about this game.
Yeah.
I'm more angry about this one. Like, I don't necessarily think it was worse, but I definitely feel more angry.
Probably because of expectations, because when we did that Chicago game last year, it was kind of like the nail in the coffin for like, okay, this team's not going to make the playoffs. It was just disappointing.
Yeah.
But this is worse than disappointing. This is disappointing and making us angry.
Exactly. Exactly. And like after a summer of hype, it's really hard when you start off your season like this.
Yeah.
And we've been waiting to have a good team for 6 years. It shouldn't have taken this long.
Yeah, we shouldn't be falling behind all the teams that we're competing with in the division this quickly.
Yeah, no, I agree. God, I feel like I could go on for like another hour almost, but I would just go in circles. Like
that's the thing.
The truth.
Like, and we didn't even talk about Anderson with the
that's true.
The nice ceremony, and I was gonna like potentially be like, oh, what are the best Anderson moments? Let's go through them, but like I have no energy for that anymore.
Yeah, congrats Anderson. We love you. Best goaltender in Sens history. He didn't deserve that performance.
Yeah, hopefully Craig Anderson can make his way back into the Sens organization sometime in the future. Hopefully the job in Buffalo goes well, but also hopefully we can poach him back and bring him back over here.
I'm selfish. I hope we could do that too.
But that's probably where we should leave it. My energy is all used up at this point. So thank you everyone for watching or listening. Subscribe to SDPN if you haven't already. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, and have a good night.
Yeah, take care everyone. Have a good night.